Hey guys, Troy Dooley, the Beachside CEO. I want to do just a quick review of wealth generators. You know, when Wake Up Now went down, we saw one whole leg of the company just shift to wealth generators. Now, we reported already that the months leading up to that, several top leaders had started positioning, started looking around for different companies, and now we're learning that there was one group, and it made sense. You know, when I heard Brandon Boyd went over to wealth generators, it's like, okay, that makes total sense to me. You know, he promoted, he was the biggest advocate at Wake Up Now for the financial side of it. He got his life turned right side up. And part of that was the money that he was earning as an entrepreneur. I'm in on that. But that made sense to me. But then when I started seeing this massive mass exodus to wealth generators, and we started getting private messages, we started watching YouTube videos, I started getting texts, I started getting leaders to call and say, hey, what's your thought? I said, well, I better go look at this. The overall makes total sense. If you don't put a comp plan to wealth generators, I can see where that company would, based on the experts that they have, man, it looks like that they're literally giving out some rock solid advice, truly. But when you throw that compensation plan, it's some red flags. Now, here's some other things, and I want to direct this to the company first. The videos look well done, very professional. You have testimonials in there. You've got two issues there. The SEC has a guideline on making sure that people understand that when a person is enticing me to advice because you're giving me this excitement of, hey man, I put 100 grand in and look what I made in just 90 days or 6 months or whatever it is, you have to have the disclaimer right there with the testimonial. The FTC says you need to make sure that that's actually on file, that you have their name, their address, their phone number, and that people know that it's there, that the regulators can look at that. If that's a paid endorser or that's somebody that's actually speaking, then it needs to say, hey, this was a paid actor on behalf of so-and-so. None of that is up there. You guys can go to the regulators' websites. You can see that. That needs to be there. I'm amazed that an SEC attorney and an MLM attorney hasn't already addressed that because they're so adamant on this stuff. That needs to be addressed at the company level. Take the videos, add disclaimers on there, let them know what that is. That's very important because you don't know who's going to download that video, who's going to put it up on their own website, and now your butt's in trouble because you haven't tagged on that income disclaimer. If you've got it on there, if you talk about the ROI and then they put it on their website and they cut that part out, you have the original. You can say, hey man, somebody downloaded and screwed that up. We have this in our P&Ps. But when the company doesn't even follow completely their P&Ps, now we got a problem. Regulator's going to eat that part alive. Now, another big issue that I've seen come up, and I've seen this in a lot of videos from former Wake Up Now leaders that did not join wealth generators, and that was telling people, well, man, don't you need to get a license? Aren't you an investment advisor? And one person even said, no, I don't need a license. I'm like Dave Ramsey and Neil Cavuto. No, you're not either, because Dave Ramsey is a commentator. He makes it very clear, hey, I'm not giving you legal or financial advice. This is just my opinion. Neil Cavuto, the same thing. Now, Jim Cramer, Larry Kudlow, these kind of guys, they're actually brokers. They own investment firms. They can be held liable for what they're saying. I'm thinking that you guys are kind of in a gray area. And here's why I say that. When I go over to the SEC website, the Securities and Exchange Commission, it says, what is an investment advisor? Here is the question. What is an investment advisor? Here's the answer. This was very important. An investment advisor is an individual or a firm that is in the business of giving advice about securities to clients. Okay, you're marketing a newsletter, a financial newsletter with proven strategies on past performance with a, listen, with a published return on investment, ROI. That means investment advice, period. So at the very minimum, a regulator could raise the concern, and critics have already done it. They'll raise a concern. Hey, are you guys licensed to give advice? That's what they're going to look at because now you've put a comp plan to it. You can sell a subscription, and you're giving a subscription for advice, and that's a gray area all in its own. We've already, I mean, that's just there. But now you're putting money. You're literally, as a company, paying an independent sales rep to bring clients to utilize your information. Now, I do not see anywhere on the website where the company states, hey, you got to use our broker. We've got a special agreement. No. But it talks about the investments, and it talks about our experts. And here's what you will get if you do what they say to do. Well, two things come to mind now that we've got a comp plan to it, because now we got other regulators looking at this. How are you going to keep the analytics? How do you know who invests in what? See, that's going to, and we're going to get more into that in a minute. But let me go on. It says, for instance, individuals or firms that receive compensation for giving advice on investing in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, or exchange-traded funds are investment advisors. That's what the newsletter does. Here's our strategy. Here's the stocks that if you invested in, this is what you would make. Here's what we're doing this week. So if you invest your money like we are, look what you're going to get. One consultant for the company said, Troy, we get a kind of monopoly money account where we can practice this before we put real money into the trades. Awesome. I think more education, the better. Let them personally see that. But even that could be called an enticement. And with not enough disclosures, with the fact that you're now using a sales force to market your investment strategies. Yes, I agree you're not marketing the stocks and bonds and the investments directly. You may have an arm's length transaction with a broker-dealer. That's cool. Maybe they're going to use their own broker-dealer. That's awesome. But again, I go back to, you still have to have some way that you're tracking whether or not people are investing. Because I really feel, in looking at this case, where you've got a company that seemingly has some really good advisors, they seemingly have good intentions, they seemingly want to market a service that's going to change people's lives, that when you throw the compensation plan on top of it, regulators are going to look at it in a whole different light. And it could be similar to what we saw at Burn Lounge. Burn Lounge had a real product, real service. There were a few people that were actually utilizing the music store the way it was intended. But the majority, according to the lawsuit, was inside the compensation plan, never really used it, and they were just using it as a kind of a front end to market what they ended up calling a pyramid scheme. So I believe in this case right here, what you could end up seeing is a regulator coming in, looking at this and saying, okay, I see people paying $24, and that gives them the right to market the newsletters. It gives them a right to make commissions. Now, they don't qualify for the super duper deal, and that's a given. That's fine. I also see where people can just become a member. And I think regulators would look at that and they would say, okay, how many just paid the $24? How many just paid the $99? And then how many actually paid $24 and the $99? And how many are investing their money? Because see, if you can prove that the majority of the people, distributor or just an end user, have taken your advice, put their money to work, and they've gotten the same return on investment as your professional experts have, I think you'd be in the clear. But I think if regulators come in and you cannot quantify, hey, this is the amount of people that we know have invested hard, cold cash into our strategies, into the stock market, that the regulators would look at that and say, this looks like a pay to play, and this looks like a pyramid scheme. Because you've got return on investment on here, I'm concerned that the SEC could look at this and say, well, you know what? We think that you're selling securities without a license. I don't think it's unregistered securities, because all the securities that you're doing are registered, but you're selling the services to market to those investments, and you don't have a license. Now, I haven't had a securities license since 2001. I was Series 6, 63, and 65. I've been audited. I understand what all that means. It's been almost, what, 15 years since then? I'm looking at current rules and regulations. I'm looking at a what-if scenario, because at the end of the day, here's what we have. We have a company that wants to build a brand. We have a company that wants to sell a lot of products. We have owners that say, look, we can change our lives by getting these experts out here and investing money. And if we put a network marketing arm to it, and we get all these people excited, we can make a lot of money. We can change a lot of people's lives. I hear it. I don't think regulators might see it that way. Because when they look at the culture, and they look at the demographic, and then they start asking you those hard, cold questions, if you don't have the right answers, if you can't quantify it, they're going to get. Now, I want to go to reps again for a minute. there's something that I've learned myself, and this comes from setting in front of the SEC, being sanctioned by the SEC for, back to the company for a minute, not having enough disclosures on my website, not having them relevant, not having them in videos, not having them in comments, not having them where they need to be. Sanctioned, $6,000 fine. I understand what I'm talking about on this. But the reps, going back to you guys again, if you don't have errors and omission coverage, if you don't have that E&O policy that says, whoa, you know what, a client could sue me. And I think in this case here, far more than if you were in a health and wellness weight loss company. Hey man, you told me I was going to lose 5 pounds, that I was a fat, obese person, and I'm going to sue you. I don't think that's gonna work. But I think in this case here, because I know how reps tend to get excited in the moment, and you hype, you exaggerate. You didn't mean to say, hey, I invested 100,000 of my own dollars, and I forgot to tell you it was that play Monopoly money in my practice account, but this is how much I earned this week. And then a client doesn't earn that. They don't understand the strategy. They don't understand what's being taught. They only got excited because you were excited, and then they sue you because they lost their life earnings. You better have errors and omission coverage. Now, when you look over, we'll put this on the website. When you look over at Investopedia, one of the best sites, I love this, it says definition of errors and omission insurance, a professional liability insurance that protects companies and individuals against claim made by client for inadequate work or negligent actions. Errors and omission insurance often covers both court costs and settlements. If I was a rep, I'd be asking to see the company's error and omission coverage. I know there's some companies out there, I think it's Vima's one that actually offers a type of liability coverage. There's other companies that do this too because it protects them and it protects you. I would check with the company and say, hey, do you guys have errors and omission? When I was a broker, we had errors and omission, both a personal policy and the company had a policy on us. This is an area that I do not feel comfortable with as a network marketing company with a comp plan. And it's because I think there's too much lack of education from the rep standpoint, as well as what will be needed to talk to customers and clients. So in no way am I saying this company, oh my gosh, it's a giant scam. No, I believe there'll be people that will say that to you. You know, that's up to a court of law. That is not mine to say. I do think there's some compliance issues, and I do question whether or not it's very wise to put a compensation network marketing plan to this. It's just scary to me because I know how regulators can get. I know what it looks like, and I know that when you put a passionate, excited, young demographic group out there, that all hell can break loose because of what will get said or what will be on the websites and what we've already gotten. Prime example, Troy, the SEC has already given this company the okay. No, they don't, because the SEC doesn't do that. Now, we can get audited, there can be all kinds of stuff, but the SEC never says this company, we approve this company. They don't do that, and yet that's what we're seeing. We saw the same thing from the same group at Wake Up Now, only they said, well, the FTC has approved this company. No, they didn't. And we later debunked that and uncovered it. So guys, be cautious is what I'm telling you. And from the company standpoint, I tell you what, it looks like from your P&Ps, you got a great MLM attorney. If you don't have one on staff, I'd go find an SEC attorney and say, can you go through this top to bottom and make sure that we have covered all the I's, crossed all the T's, and that we're cool. Because if you don't, then my professional opinion, this company will not exist in the future. Eventually, it will get hit by regulators. It will eventually have a problem, and it will be due to the field. I watched in 1999 World Marketing Alliance go through an issue where we were all broker-dealers, we were all licensed, and yet a group out of Arizona used company letterhead to go sell all kinds of grain and grain mills that didn't exist under the Y2K deal. Well, the company got hit for that. And you guys, they were a legit company, and they got hit. What do you think's going to happen if the company isn't licensed the way they're supposed to, if the reps aren't licensed the way they're supposed to? I mean, what is it? Citigroup or JP Morgan just paid $80 million in another fine. They've paid over $1 billion in fines, and there's not a network marketing company out there that can afford $1 billion for legal costs or set aside 7 or 8 billion or 17 billion for future legal costs. Caution. It's better to be safe than sorry. It's better to slow down the momentum before it gets out of control. It's better to do things right and always walk in the black, not in that gray or that red zone, and that's what we're talking about. Live life like it's an epic adventure. Stay dangerous, stay strong, and if you're in a home-based business, act like it.